Hello, everyone. It's Sandra and Fiona here. Welcome. This is part one of our three-part series. We're going to run them on Mondays just to connect in, say hi, and do a little bit of a motivating update. Hi, Fiona.
Hi, Sandra, and hi, ladies. It's lovely to be here, and we haven't done a live for a while, so we thought in and do one for the next couple of weeks. So we get to know everyone, and I hope all you ladies are doing great. We know this is a pretty challenging time of our lives, and sometimes we wonder if the chapter is going to be the very best part of our life, or if we're going to stay stuck and we're going to be in that no man's territory where you're out of a relationship, but you haven't actually got to that place of rebuilding and creating the next chapter of your life. So that's what we want to have a look at today.
Absolutely. And ladies, there is a future ahead, and it is for us. We've been navigating for a long time and we're down well and truly the track, but we have both been through our own separations and divorce, and we know how hard it is at the rough end. And we want you to be assured that it is a transitional time, and that's where the Women on Transition was birthed, and the fact that it is a progressive place that you do actually move through as well. You know, there comes a time after separation and divorce that the dust does settle a little, and suddenly at that time we start thinking, what's next? We're not sure whether we should be dating, whether we should be healed, whether we should be over it, and we're looking around, looking at what's ahead, because the plan that we had maybe for retirement and for maybe the next 20, 30, a couple of decades ahead has all changed, and it's all gone up in the air. So we've now got this blank slate in front of us, and it's very scary.
And it's such an interesting time, ladies, because very often we're out of the initial crisis. We've been able to get through that part. But when we've done our settlement, or we've separated our finances, or we've moved out, moved on, but sometimes we're out of that crisis stage, but we still feel like, is this the rest of my life? Is this what it's going to be like? Very often ladies tell us they feel like they're living in an existence after their separation or a divorce, rather than living a new life. Sometimes we've just got to get consciously aware about where we are in the cycle, because there's a time for everything, but definitely a time to actually become consciously aware and choose to move on with dignity and grace, so you don't spend time being stuck and not having a pathway forward.
I think we feel we've gone through so much, we're exhausted, we're overwhelmed through most of it, and we have been truly, and it's a bit overused, the word, but in survival mode, but that's the reality of it. But what's now? So I really want us to look at what is next. I remember somebody asking me in the thick of going through, and afterwards, what do you actually want, Sandra? And I couldn't tell them. I didn't have a clue what I actually wanted to do. And I had never actually even thought. We're so busy looking after everyone else that we don't actually spend the time considering what is it that we would, if we had a choice, what would we actually want to do? I'd love for you to just put in the comments down here, please, ladies, if there was something that you would love to do, what would it be? Because I know that unless we start putting out there maybe a bit of a dream or a bit of a vision, that we don't put it out there, and just maybe no idea how we're going to get there yet, but at least it's a thought that's put into maybe a comment here, just what that looks like. So just one word or a sentence just in the chat for you to put down just where you would love to go. Maybe it's healed. Maybe it's going into a place that you've got feeling freedom. Maybe it's some financial freedom. Maybe it's a new community or friends, or maybe it's healing and growing and forgiving. Maybe it's not been triggered. So what does that look like for the next maybe 12 months where you would like to actually move towards as well?
Yeah, I know, ladies, I felt that I lost myself somewhere along the way. My divorce actually made me do a retake on my life and really have a look at what I was doing, where I was going, if I was truly happy or not. I think that's what a lot of ladies tell us, that they've lost themselves and they didn't even realize it. I know that all of you ladies, we all get up out of bed every morning. We try and be good mums. We try and be good partners. We try and be good wives. We try and care for all the people in our life. We're great at work. We might even have our own business or just be in a career. and we're also someone's daughters. I think these are challenging times of our life and our age. We've thrown in menopause and oh my God, sometimes you think, how much can I handle? I can remember saying to my mum, I wish God or my higher power, whatever you want it to be, I wish they didn't think I was so capable, because I just felt like I had so much on my plate. And I always had that saying, if it doesn't kill you, it makes you stronger. Well, I think it did make me very much stronger. And I learned a lot through this period. When I made a decision to not be sad, not to suffer, not to struggle, I actually made a conscious decision to heal and to grow and to find my way forward. That's when my life really started to change, because I went from feeling like I had no choice in my relationship loss to actually feeling like, okay, if it's going to be, it's up to me. I've got that pen in my hand and I'm now going to start writing my story for the future.
Yeah, it's exciting, isn't it, when you can get to that point? But many of us take a time to get there. And I know for myself, I was actually so fearful of doing something wrong because I had young kids. I've been through 2 divorces. The first one, they were 5 and 8, and the next one, they were in their teenage years. But certainly I didn't want to go through and have another messy loss of business and income, and the kids going through the trauma that they had as well. So I was very fearful of making mistakes, and I was very cautious, and I didn't know who to turn to or where to go for the right advice and good, healthy advice as well. So I kept thinking, if I don't do anything as well, that was fearful, because I thought I'm going to be where I am right now. If nothing changes, nothing changes. So ladies, if nothing changed in your life over the next 12 months, how would you honestly feel? And I'd love for you just to put that in one word or a sentence in the chat. If nothing changed in your life over the next year, how would your life look and how would you actually feel? Because that's where we go to as well. We've got to have that pull and push, that the need to be moving towards something and know that it's actually more exciting than the fear of staying where we are is as well, which is quite often a safe place, but it's not a place that's going to progress us either.
For a lot of ladies, they really lose touch with who they are, and separation and divorce really challenges us and our relationships. Very often we lose not only our relationship, but we lose a lot of friends and a lot of connection and community that we had because we were part of a couple. And all of a sudden we find ourselves as not part of a couple anymore. For some ladies, they feel like they don't get invited anymore, they don't get included. What most women do in this situation is they shut down. They try and protect themselves from being hurt further, sometimes because they're just feeling not so great about their life and their situation. Sometimes they're embarrassed, sometimes they're angry and sad, and very often they isolate themselves. And so slowly you can lose friends, you can lose ambition, you get worried about how you're showing up, how other people are talking about you, what they're saying. And all of this leads to a lack of confidence and a lack of direction of who we are and what we want to do next. So we want to really just acknowledge how hard this is to go through this part of our life. I want you to remember it is a transitional journey. Where you are now, you are not always going to have to stay there. You can move forward. And when you start to move forward, you can actually start to create the life that you want to live. And life on the other side of the sadness and the pain can absolutely be beautiful.
But it's scary, and it's scary to even take that step. I was going through that time and just trying to keep it together. And then I realized that I hadn't actually stopped and asked myself what I even needed or wanted. I didn't even know what that even could look like. We just don't give ourselves any time. We don't invest anything. We feel it's selfish, in fact. And we're so in that space of just going through, making sure everyone else is still okay, that we forget about ourselves. It's very common for women because we are carers, we are people pleasers typically in a lot of cases, and we do want to make sure everyone else is okay. And we have this whole thing that keeps coming up that we can't put ourselves first. It's selfish. And this is our time, ladies, to put that oxygen mask on ourselves so that we can get out of the fight and flight and freeze and move into something that's going to be for us that rest, recharge, reset, and to be able to go forward with energy. We need to have that investment in ourselves of time to be able to give it energy, and also to make sure that we're financially set up as well and protected. The big thing that I had to do was to make sure that if I was ever going to go into another relationship, it was going to be so protected. I was going to be protected. My kids were going to be protected financially. And I really had to make sure that was in because I was fearful of even dating, because I thought, I'm going to end up back here again. And I've made 2 bad mistakes. And for me, I didn't want to be making a third as well.
So ladies, we want to have a look at what is actually possible for us. And I want you to think about what's the difference between surviving and actually living your best life, because they're chalk and cheese. For many women, they just get stuck into the same pattern day in, day out. They get up, they go to work, they look after the house and their washing and pay the bills, do the shopping, do their appointments, come home at night time, very often to a emptier house. It could be empty, but it could also have older growing kids in it. Very often the aloneness is there, and that's what meets you when the kids go to bed or when you do sit down on the couch. Very often that silence of just a house that's not what it used to be. It's not the family it used to be. And when you sit down, very often you just feel so exhausted because you've just had to go through the day doing the job of 2 people, and then coming home and you get into bed and you feel like, oh my God, it's Groundhog Day and it's just another day tomorrow. I know what that can feel like, and it really can zap your energy. And that's why we think it's so important that you create your plan for your future, because it doesn't just happen on its own.
Time goes so fast. I caught up with a friend the other day and I couldn't believe I hadn't seen her for months, like 4 months, 5 months. And I thought it was just only a few weeks ago. Time flies past, and we can use it or we can just lose it. And that's what comes down to. We really want to be able to make sure that every day is something that we're looking forward to, we're excited about. And there's a massive difference between being alone and being lonely. We want to get to a place in ourselves that we're really comfortable in our own skin and with who we are, and we're excited about, and it's part of the plan, some alone time, as well as a focus on what we've got going forward as well.
And ladies, it's so easy. I know most of you girls, you're very capable, you're very smart and switched on, you're hardworking, and it's very easy to fall into that pattern of being overproductive. And so that very often can be our safe zone. If women are career orientated or they like to keep themselves busy, very often that can just become a danger zone, because it's where we go because we know that it feels safe, that we know we can do that. So very often ladies become workaholics, or they become careaholics. They're looking after everybody else. They're just keeping themselves busy. And it actually protects us from having to look at what's underneath, but it doesn't actually heal the pain.
No, so you're in super functioning mode. You're over functioning at times, but that's not living. I know I've been guilty of this as well. And there's been periods when I've been incredibly productive and looked like I had everything together, but that was on the outside. On the inside, everything was coming apart. I remember going home and just sitting down and crying and feeling so sad and lonely, and just cooking myself some toast and Vegemite for dinner. And, just this is not the life that we want. This is not where we want to be, and we don't know how at that point how to step out of it, and it's really hard.
So we want to actually go deep, ladies, with our healing. We don't want to just do the superficial things. Sandra and I really know for you to heal and for you to grow, you actually have to heal those inner wounds, and the wounds that started when you're a little girl. those belief systems that you hold. Maybe you have inside of you that I'm not good enough, or I'm not worthy, or I'm not lovable. That's where we've got to start. So we've got to have a look at how you're coping, what you're saying to yourself, and is this giving you the happiness that you really want? Or is it just a convenient way for you to hide? I want you to pause and just have a think about that. What are you actually doing to get through your separation and divorce, and what aren't you actually looking at?
Yeah. And where you're coping really well, ladies, but you're actually not happy. We can cope, but fundamentally in our soul and in our heart, we're not happy. We're not fulfilled. We're not excited about life. We're not feeling like we've got a plan that we're just doing every day by rote, every day because we feel we have to. So where are you coping really well, but you're actually not happy at the core?
We have to have a look at what we need to change, because there's things about us. I always say to the girls that I coach, we've all got our greatness. We know that we're good people. We've got beautiful things that we do, but we also have some parts of our personality that we can work on and that we can improve. And I know that one can sting a little bit, because sometimes we don't want to look at the things that we do. We can look at the things that other people do, but we're not so good at looking at the things that we do. But for us to be able to heal and grow and move on, we need to take responsibility for ourselves, and we need to be the one who drives the change. So we want to have a look at, what am I doing? What am I doing with my life? What results am I getting? How am I thinking about myself? What am I planning for my future? And if you're not getting the results that you want, there's something wrong with the way that you're processing. And we've got to start with the way that you think about yourself and you think about what's possible for you.
Many people just feel that it'll get better with time, and it just does not work that way. Time does not heal. We don't just end up with more money because we want it to happen. We've got to actually put some action into place as well. We end up quite often feeling like we need to be even compensating because we've taken our kids maybe through such a rough period of time that we end up lending them money and not setting healthy boundaries and doing all the things that we feel that we need to do. But really, it's not about blame, and it's not about anyone doing anything wrong, but it's learning that what healthy relationships need to look like and healthy boundaries need to be in place for not just yourself, but to be able to know that going forward, you need to have a roadmap and you can move forward really safely as well. And to stop putting yourself last. This is where we quite often have done that for so long that we don't even think about it, and we don't feel comfortable putting ourselves not last.
Yeah. And ladies, healing is a choice. A lot of ladies, they get stuck and they don't move forward. We come across so many ladies who really haven't progressed for 5, 10, 20 years. Some of them still hate their exes. Some of them still don't understand why their relationship broke down. Some of them still are taking no responsibility for the role that they played. All of these things are not easy, but they're absolutely necessary if you want to move forward and be free of your past. And that's what we always want you to do. We want to encourage you to actually work on your inner stuff so your outer life improves. And we want to be able to say that when we do this work, we can create a beautiful new life. Now, the difference is, and the reason why it happens, is that we are free from our past. It doesn't hurt us. It doesn't trigger us. We totally understand why and how our relationship broke down. We understand why we behaved the way we did, why our partner behaved the way that they did. And there's some massive healing that comes when we actually grow our mind and we learn new tools and skills. This is the difference in the work that we really recommend that you do. It's not just journaling, it's just not talk therapy, it's actually learning how to consciously understand the process and the breakdown. and grow new tools and skills. Become a better communicator. Don't shut down when you don't know what to say. Don't walk on eggshells. Don't accept bad behaviour. Be able to speak up. Have healthy boundaries. These are not things that any of us were ever taught. So we've got to teach ourselves at this age, because if we teach ourselves, then our future is going to be very different from our past.
And I think we feel that healing, it's different ways for different people. Some people want to just keep talking about what happened, what didn't happen, whose fault it was, and also try and get some understanding from their friends, what side everyone's on. All of that ends up being this big vortex of confusion and continuance of a really unhealthy thinking pattern, because we don't end up healing when we're in that cycle. And so if we think that many of us might think that they want their ex to maybe apologize, or they're waiting until get an understanding of what happened, or they want to be able to talk to them so that, and there are things that maybe in a lot of situations, they will never actually get that closure. We need to look at how we can have closure by ourselves, without them. And as tough as that sounds, or as foreign, or that's no way that's going to happen, it does happen. But it doesn't just happen. It happens through a process. We can quite often get caught up with, why did he do that? Or why didn't I see it? Or why did I stay? Or why didn't I leave earlier? Or I didn't see that happening. I was blindsided. Or why did I put up with it? There's so many, and this isn't whether it's you that left or he that left or whatever the situation was. And I know some of our community also in widow situations too, even going back over things, it doesn't actually move things forward. It keeps you in the rear vision mirror, not in the front windscreen. And that's where we want to be able to go. So this is what is so important.
Yeah, so that's what we mean when we talk about growth. Not fixing yourself because you're broke, but actually learning more about yourself and becoming the very best person you can be. Sandra and I were both smart, switched on business women, and we could run lots of things. We could do lots of stuff, but we didn't know how to heal from our broken relationships because no one had taught us these things. But when we learnt and when we put the work in, we actually made sense of it. And now it's just like it's something that we totally feel that has changed our future for the better. And our exes are just people that we used to know. There's no emotional attachment about them. We don't get triggered. We don't get sad. We're not slagging them off to the kids. This is important because it makes us free to be able to move forward.
Yeah, I think we get down to not just understanding what happened to the situation but we get to understand how we showed up in it. And that was the core trigger for me that moved me to a tipping point of healing. When I realized my role and my responsibility, and also why I even started a relationship with somebody that I probably never should have. But at the end of it, I was in it. It's no going back and blaming and digging things up. It's actually looking at all the things that I can be truly grateful for. Key things, my two beautiful kids, but certainly how other things that I can be grateful for as well. And that didn't just happen. It took a lot of time and a lot of growth and learning on my side of things as too. So the question ends up eventually becoming, what am I going to do with what happened to me? And what is a story that I'm going to start creating going forward that's going to be empowering me versus disempowering me as well? And that was a huge part of my journey going into the whole growth and learning and personal development, was having two significant relationships, two marriages that didn't work, both very different men. I thought that it was them and their fault, and it was only me actually trying to do the work and processing it on my side of things. It took me time that I actually was able to let go of that feeling of failure and guilt and all the things that come up with something that doesn't work and it's not successful. And understanding my own patterns and what I needed to change so that I never would have a third relationship that would be the same as the other two. And I'd never go into another situation and put myself into that environment again as well. And my kids, not have them go through it too.
So ladies, put this in the chat. If you knew you could create a completely different next chapter, what would you love your life to look like? Because I think that's such a powerful question to ask ourselves, because we need to actually give ourselves permission to want more. As women, we're so used to just putting everybody else before us, we don't stop. We don't prioritize ourselves. So we want to think about what we actually want for this next part of our life. If you've been a people pleaser all of your life, you don't have to keep doing that. If you've been someone who shuts down when you get stressed and you can't think what you want to say and you just end up saying nothing,
Freezing.
you don't have to stay like that either. You know, if you're someone who's reactive and gets angry and gets triggered and has to have her say, you don't have to stay like that either. There is so much freedom that comes when we grow and we move beyond the pain. Everybody's different. Everyone has different patterns, but there's patterns of behavior that are very common. And when we actually learn them and we study the difference and we know how we soothe ourselves, how we react, what we do to shield ourselves and protect ourselves, then we can learn new tools and skills to plug those holes that nobody's ever showed us.
Absolutely. And it's not something that does happen either overnight. It happens over time, but you've got to start somewhere. And it's learning how to respond when you've been called on something, or you pick up a text message, or you pick up the phone, or something happens, or you walk into an environment or a room or a party or a barbecue and your ex is there with his new partner. These are the things that can trigger us. And it's learning how we can respond, and also emotional intelligence, how we can do it from a place and in a way that our children can be respected and can understand, and they can be a part of the growth and journey, and we can be a role model to them as well. And it's learning to trust ourselves. A lot of people say, I don't trust other people because I've been let down, but it's us that we don't trust. It's not them, it's us. It's learning once we trust ourselves, and going forward, we can make very different decisions as well. And learning to pause. This was probably the number one thing that I learned, and certainly so helpful, and especially in situations that came up that I'd be in a situation that even someone would say to me, oh, I saw your ex on social media, or what do you think of that? And even in conversations, I would just pause, and my kids would come home that they had stories that they'd been at their dad's for the weekend, and they had these stories that had been created and that he'd shared with them that were not my reality. And so I had pause again. And so it gave me a chance to pause to be able to, before I respond, and respond in my own time. So this was my way of being able to take a bit of control back, instead of just reacting and responding before I had thought about what I was going to say or the way I was going to act would land. And that was a big turning point for my own growth and the ability to be able to feel like I actually was able to claw some of that sense of self-worth, self-respect, and also for the kids to see that I just didn't respond. I was able to actually come back with something that was a little bit more intentional.
And, you know, ladies, after a relationship loss or after a relationship breakdown, so many women feel jaded. They feel like they're being treated unfairly, that life's not fair, that their husbands hasn't been respectful. So many ladies just take that step back and they think that, look, I don't need anything else. I'm too old. There's no good men available. I'm just going to live my own life for myself. I've already had my chance at love and it's all just too hard and I don't know what to do. And look, we don't believe that anybody should jump into dating until you have done your healing, your growth, know who you are, have a plan for your own life. And then if you choose to be in a relationship, that's a great time to start working towards becoming a partner again. But we do believe that there's a lot of work to do before we get to that stage. We see women jumping in straight away. Men are worse. But we also see women jumping in straight away. And it's usually just because they're lonely or they're scared or they financially need someone to help them out, or there's always a reason, and there's no judgment from us. We understand why people do what they do. We just want to help to be able to give new tools, new skills, new learnings, new understandings, so you actually make choices that are for your higher good. what are going to serve you and your family down the track. We don't want you just jumping in, making more mistakes. And we know that we've got to grow and we've got to learn new tools and skills if we want to create a future that is different from our past.
So, ladies, if you knew you could create a completely different chapter ahead, what would you want it to look like? What would you want that next chapter to look like? And it might be a chapter that's short term or mid-term, and just it's a chapter. What would you like this next chapter to look like? Would you look at maybe being in a relationship or moving or financially independent or healthy? What does that look like this next chapter? That connected, you want a community, some new friendship groups as well. So this is your time to give yourself permission to want more, isn't it, Fiona? Because I think no one else is going to give us that. We have to do it ourselves.
Absolutely. There's no point you suffering. You are not hurting your ex-husband or partner for you to suffer. Moved on. They're doing them. They're not even looking backwards. You suffering is only hurting you, and it hurts your kids and it hurts your family, because your kids really struggle, especially older kids, after they see their parents go through a separation and divorce. Some of your kids will even tell you, Mum, get divorced, Mum, leave. But when you do, they don't know what to do with it, and they get all funny and they don't know how to communicate. So they end up shutting down and shutting you out. And if you don't heal, very often you will be the person that actually annoys them and triggers them, because they don't know how to fix your pain, even though they saw being in the relationship was painful. But you being out of the relationship and still hurting and still having to process, that confuses them and they don't know how to fix it. Very often for mums, and it's devastating, they not only lose their relationship, but they can very easily become estranged from their kids as well. So ladies, we can just start to move through this separation, divorces, rebuilding very differently than how society has told you up to date that you should. Because we feel that we're not set up for success, we're set up for failure. We've got to create the life that we want on our terms by actually knowing the difference of what works and what doesn't work.
Absolutely. Women are really good at talking themselves out of what they want, because they don't think they're worth it, or don't think that's right for them, or they don't think they can ask it, or they don't know how to get it. And this is something that it comes down to. You are worth it. We are worth it. And we do deserve it. Whatever it is that we want, we can strive for it. We can work towards it. We can have it. It's just a plan that we need. So, and this is sometimes the divorce can be a bit of a pivotal point that actually creates space for you to be able to make a plan.
Oh, 100%, ladies. I can honestly tell you my life is so much better now that I've done this work. I went through that adversity. I really had to have a look at who I was, what I was doing, where I was going, and it's made me a much better person. I'm really grateful that I was challenged at the level that I was challenged at, and that I lost everything that I thought was once so important to me. My identity got challenged, my family got challenged, but we've all been able to rebuild and come through this, and collectively we're so much stronger and so much better. So you've got to have a look at, so what do you want for love? What do you want for money? What do you want as far as traveling? Have you got some career goals that you would love to chase? Would you love to have your own business one day? What about girlfriends? Have you got a lot of friends, or would you really love some friendships from women who understand what you've been through and they accept it, but they don't let you wallow there? They actually encourage you to move forward and go on new adventures, to build your confidence and to have freedom in your life, freedom from the past, freedom from hurt, and for you to actually be living your life on your own terms. That's what we want for all the girls in our community. And that's what we really just want to tell you today, is that it's absolutely possible to create a beautiful new life.
Absolutely. I'm loving reading the comments as well. We've got being healthy physically and emotionally, happy on my own. And yeah, and I think this is what is such a powerful time that, this is our time as well. And it doesn't happen instantly, what we want come to mind, but it does happen. But we have to create a space and we have to do the learning and the healing to get there as well. So I think certainly after divorce, sometimes you feel like you've already had your shot at love and or financial security or happiness, but that's not true. And this is us saying, this is my turn, this is my time, and this is going forward. There's nothing that can stop me, whatever age I am, whatever financial situation or whatever health situation I'm in. Things can move forward in a different way to where they've been, and this is what we can design as well.
Just excited. We have so many girls in our community that never thought it was going to be possible for them to create the lives that they're now living. And Sandra and I get to be witness to this and to facilitate it and to see women living incredible lives. Every weekend they're getting together, they're creating these amazing adventures, doing things that they never thought that they would do. And it's absolutely possible for all of you ladies. Don't stay stuck. If I can give you one word of advice, it's just like I made that decision for myself. I said, I am not going to allow my past to define me. What has happened has happened. I can't change it, but I can absolutely change the future.
Absolutely. And what if wanting more is actually a sign that you're coming back to life, ladies? I know for me, the biggest shift was realizing I didn't have to settle for the life I'd simply, because it was the life I had, I got to choose a whole new one. And that was super exciting. And I still have friends from childhood. I've still got people in my life that I've had my whole life, but I've changed my way of doing things very much within each of the chapters that I've had going forward as well. So ladies, another question. If nobody was going to judge you, because we don't judge here, what would you want more of? What would you want more of if nobody was going to judge your answer? Would it be love? Would it be money? Maybe travel? Maybe a new career? Business? Side hustle? Friendships? Adventure? Maybe more confidence? Maybe more self-belief, self-confidence, and that you are enough and believe it. And what about freedom? And I'd love to see some of your comments coming through here.
And just because you want things, ladies, as women, we're told that and taught that don't ask for anything, don't speak up, don't have a plan and vision for your life. That's all BS. You know what BS stands for? Belief system. It's a faulty belief system. Ladies, you've got to ask for more. You've got to say, I am worthy, I am beautiful, I deserve to have a lovely life. And just go after what you actually want.
Yeah, and just because you want more, it doesn't mean you're ungrateful or selfish, or it just means that you want more, and that's okay. That's a great space to be in. And we just want the conversation is a big part of why we created the 3-day Reset Your Life and Shine. I'm just going to touch on this for 1 or 2 minutes, and then we're going to move on to another great lesson as well. But because we keep hearing women saying, I know I need to change, I know I need to heal, I know I want something different, but I just don't know what to do and how to get there. So they're still trying to work it all out in their own head by themselves, and they're staying stuck. Stagnant was the word we kept hearing. So while still managing everything else and being the mum and the carer and the giver, and this is where it was birthed from that.
Yeah, ladies, sometimes you just got to get out of your normal environment and do something different. And this is where coming to these 3 days is where you can actually stop, where you can think, where you can feel, where you can learn, where you can talk with like-minded women, where you can laugh. And ladies, and in this room, something magical happens when we bring women together who have been through these same circumstances. Everyone's got their own story, but there's a commonality there that we understand each other. That is something that you often don't get with your, girlfriends who haven't been through separation and divorce.
Certainly a few tears, but it's, as we say, it's a release of the pain as well. And you're definitely in a safe place. And all of our ladies that come along and crew, they volunteer and they come back from previous events that they've been to support other women coming in on the first time. And a lot of women come on their own as well. So we have quite a lot of people that on the first day they meet somebody literally at registration or who they're sitting next to. We do a few activities throughout the event, so you get to mix up and get to connect with other people throughout the days. We see people form strong relationships there and connections and end up organising coffee afterwards. And so it's not just the 3 days. It's about discovering, looking at patterns that might be keeping you stuck and keeping you stagnant, and really gives you a chance to understand yourself and learning new tools that you can pop in that toolbox and pull them out when you need one day to pause and you think, now what? Well, you've got the confidence, and we're going to go through some side hustles. I've got some brand new side hustles, actually. I always do a side hustle session, but this one is some new side hustles that anyone with no experience even can earn another $3,000 or up to another $3,000, even more in some cases, per month as a side hustle with no investment, no ability to be out of pocket. And it's about just how you can use your skills that you already have or your time that you already have and just have the confidence to do it. We could talk a lot about relationships. We do see in our community quite often an estranged child or children and with their parents, and we cover off on some of that. We also cover off understanding how your environment sort of worked with you when you were younger and even formed some of the behavioral patterns that you have now. We talk about boundaries, how to set healthy boundaries and keep them, and, just what you actually want next, and give you a chance to take a breath, go into a space that you're not doing, and you actually get to be the human being for the 3 days and sit and connect and enjoy and do something for you.
And ladies, this is a choice and it is a commitment to yourself. It's an investment in yourself. And you don't have to arrive knowing anything, or most ladies come on their own and sometimes they're even a bit scared. But we just want to encourage you that you're going to be walking into a crowd of beautiful women with big hearts who want the very best for you. So don't let any of those excuses hold you back. This is your time, and you need to just set this time aside where you choose to start creating your beautiful new life.
Absolutely. And, love to see a few answers in here, where you're at the moment. Just if you had the confidence, skills and support to create the next chapter that you really wanted, what would be different? So if you had the confidence, skills and support to create the next chapter, what would be different? And I saw a comment there about travel, and Penelope, absolutely. We have so many ladies in our community that come through and they say, I've never traveled on my own, because they've, at a younger age, they've met up with their now ex and they traveled together, or they traveled before that with a few of their single girlfriends, and now they're in the stage of life that they're in, and they actually have never actually traveled on their own. And it's daunting. It's daunting going to the coffee shop and ordering a coffee or lunch or dinner and to go out anywhere. So it's a big difference between where we were to where we are now, and it happens overnight really quickly. And so we actually take you through not just the journey even over the 3 days, but the ability for you to be able to connect with a huge amount of ladies in your neighborhood, a lot of them, or your city or your area, or be able to connect back online afterwards. We know that you end up with a beautiful new friendship group as well of people that do want to travel, and they are single as well.
Yeah. Ladies, we do these around Australia, but in October we've got Brisbane, Sydney and Perth, and so these will be our last live events. So if you are looking for a way to move forward and you are ready to commit and put some time and effort in, we really want you to consider joining us at one of these amazing events. I can tell you they're absolutely amazing. There's absolutely no pressure for you to book tonight. We subsidise the tickets, and so you're not charged anywhere near what it costs us. This is our way of giving back, and we've done this work for over 10 years. Women on Transition has been around changing hundreds of thousands of lives, family situations. The tickets are $47, and that's for the whole 3 days. 3 days of Sandra and I on stage. You will have so many notes. You will learn. We take you through a step-by-step journey. And it's everything that you need to know to be able to see that there is possibility and a reason why you should be excited about the future. We hate seeing ladies suffer, and we know that it isn't necessary. So this is your opportunity to do a reset on your life.
But ladies, you don't have to wait until the 3 days in October. We can keep going now. Let's keep rolling. And well done to you being on this call or listening afterwards. And even if you are listening afterwards and you've got some questions, just pop them in the Facebook group or the chat, and our community and team are all in there, and Fiona and I are too. So you will give a chance to be able to answer some questions. And if anyone wants event information, there's event information in there as well. So yes, but you don't have to stay stuck, ladies. I think that's the big one. And there's some real tools, practical strategies to be able to move you forward, regardless of your situation. This is not our first rodeo. And I think the ability for it to be able to go through, and we've pretty much heard, I would say, most stories, and there's nothing that shocks us. We don't judge, and it is a very safe place for you to come into, to be able to just listen and learn and absorb and relate different things to where you're at, and to look at how you can move forward in that area or this area, or maybe get some help and look at what you want to do. And that is something that's so incredibly powerful. When was the last time you gave yourself 3 days to think about you and your future for the next decades? It's a small investment of time.
I remember waiting, ladies, thinking it's all just going to fall into place. I'm going to start feeling better. I'm going to start, my life's going to work out. But it wasn't working out. It wasn't changing. And then I realized I'm just doing the same thing day in, day out. I'm coming home to an empty house. I'm sitting here, and on the weekends, I don't have anyone to go out with. I'm not doing anything. And that's when I decided I'm not going to do this for the rest of my life. I've got to do something different, because if I just keep doing what I've been doing, I'm going to get the same results. So I think that all of this, I believe in my heart that whatever we've gone through, I believe that it's there to teach us something. And if we learn the lessons from what we've been through, we can grow and we can heal and we can create something better for ourselves. And I truly believe you deserve that. I really believe that we do ourselves a disservice when we stay stuck and we don't go for more.
And I think people think that they have to be ready. And if you think you've got to have all those ducks lined up before you can take the first step, that those ducks are just not even all going to come at once. It's not going to happen. So it's like, I'll do it when I feel more confident. When one lady had never driven in a city on her own, because her ex had always done the driving, and she said, I didn't even know how I was going to get to see you in Brisbane because I was too scared to drive from the Gold Coast up to Brisbane. And then she ended up driving and she was so excited. She ran in and she gave us this massive hug when she arrived. She said, I've driven, I've done it. She said she was so motivated to get there. But there are other ways you can bus or train or whatever you need to do. Just make the decision that you're going to go, and then or start or grow, and then it'll happen because you've made that decision, and then you can just put the things in behind it. If we wait until we're going to feel better or feel happier or feel less lonely, or when the kids are sorted, or when I've got more money, or when life calms down or there's no chaos, it's like saying I'm going to go to the gym when I can fit into the Lycra or look good in it. You go to the gym to fit into the Lycra and feel fit and good in it. And this is why it's so important that we don't wait for all the ducks. We go now and we just start.
Yeah, it's one of the biggest things that we see is women trying to do this on their own. And, what we want to tell you is it's so much easier and more fun to do it when you're not alone. When Sandra and I went through our separation and divorces, we were only a month apart. We've been friends for 18 years, and I rang her up crying from Bali and said, David's leaving me. And couldn't believe it. And then a month later, she rang me with a similar sort of story, and that her husband was having an affair, and she'd kicked him out. So she had a different way of dealing with it than me. But anyway, we didn't find a community, and we couldn't find our crowd and the women that we wanted to surround ourselves with, because we both positive, we both want to not stay stuck. We were looking for our easiest, quickest, best way of getting over this so we could start our new lives. And that's what when we couldn't find that in other Facebook groups and other communities, that's why I started Women on Transition, because I didn't want to be stuck in something. I wanted to be on transition, moving forward, creating a new life. And I hope that's what we bring to this community and all the girls that we get to work with, is that showing you the light, showing you the pathway forward, because we had to forge that ourselves. We couldn't find groups we found a lot of man-hating groups, we found a lot of victim groups, we found a lot of, groups that weren't healthy for us to be in. We wanted positive, inspired, let's get on with it sort of groups. And that's why, we love doing this work, ladies, and we want you to know that there's a pathway forward.
Absolutely, there is. And I think the big one is we've just got to start, and it can be messy when we start, and we don't know what the next step needs to be, but we know we need to start. So it's literally just taking the step and then just working it through from there, and trust in yourself a little bit. And then that trust will keep growing as you start knowing. It goes in the right direction. And if you want something different in the year ahead, it's doing something different now that ends up giving you that result down the track. So confidence comes from taking action. It doesn't come from after you've taken the action. It doesn't come from before you've taken the action, because then we're still in that fearful place. It comes from after we've taken the action and we go, wow, we did it. And it wasn't as hard as we thought. And it's facing that fear and doing it anyway, and facing it and rising.
Yeah, we always love to push ladies outside their comfort zone, because all the fun happens on the other side, outside. And I want you to think about, what do I want now? What do I want for myself? If I said to you, dream, start thinking about what is possible, I want you to come back and start at that place where we started this conversation today. Forget for a moment all the things that went wrong. Forget all the pain and the blame, and forget what you should have done. Forget what is past. We can't change that. What we can change is who we are and where we go forward from here.
It's something really powerful about having women around you that are on the same page, and that they don't just know your story, they get you and they see your soul. And someone who can say, you're doing it again, or hey, you're not serving yourself by going down that spiral, and remember to breathe, and take you through some of the tools that you've even learned to get you back on track. And just pause and let's respond to that plan that you talked about, that you wrote down, and what have you got on the fridge, that positive saying, let's go back and read that. So it's a very different environment to be in when you've got people around you really supporting you in a way of moving forward, as opposed to holding you back. And lots of reasons that happens, but certainly it doesn't serve you in any way. And it's just enough sometimes to take that first step.
Yeah, absolutely. So ladies, just rock up, prioritize yourself, put yourself forward. And maybe you don't know what you want, and that's okay. Be curious, be excited about what could be possible. And I think what will happen is just being in the environment, being in our community, surrounding yourself with positive, inspired women, they're going to rub off on you, and they're going to show you what is absolutely possible.
Yeah, absolutely. So what do you do now? So this is just coming back to where we started, and just forgetting for a moment what went wrong. This isn't about blame, and forget about what maybe we could have or should have or didn't do or did do. We also forget about whether you're behind. You just ask yourself, not what my ex wants, not what my children need, and not what everyone else expects of me. What do I want? What do I want?
Excellent, ladies. So Sandra and I are going to do these calls for the next 2 Mondays. So I hope you've enjoyed being with us today, and I hope that we have lit that little fire in you for you to want to go for more. And I hope that you can join us over the next 2 Mondays and start to believe that you don't need to stay where you are. Life can be beautiful. It won't ever be the same again, but it can actually be even better. And we'd love to invite you to join us for the next 2 Mondays, 5:30 West Australian time. And we look forward to seeing you there. If you would love to join us at the Reset Your Life and Shine 3-day event, we'll put a link below and you can get a ticket. Like we said, the tickets are subsidised. They cost us a lot more, but we make them available for $47. So if you want a ticket, $47, and that is for 3 days coaching with Sandra and I, and amazing, beautiful women who have walked the walk. They're going to be there, and you're going to make some new friends and inspire yourself to have a much better life.
Yeah, and ladies, check out our website, www.womenontransition.com. They're super full of information. It's not just the events, but it's certainly a bit more about Fiona and I, who we are, why we do what we do, and there's some free things you can do, get downloaded on there, and some information too. So just have a look, start taking the first step and invest in you with a bit of time and a bit of love. And we'll look forward to seeing you online, ladies, and maybe next Monday as well. You take care.
Yeah, see you, ladies. Love to you.